There are many common elements that reoccur in the names of countries around the world. We've looked at some of these, but we've never truly delved into perhaps the most common two letters that appear in country names, I and A. The popular ear suffix is so impressive to me because unlike say the stand suffix, which only appears in a small area of the world, the ear suffix appears in countries all around the globe. A country with ear in its name can be found in every continent in the world, well, minus damn Antarctica. To name some examples, in Europe we have nations like Austria and Bulgaria. In the Middle East we have Saudi Arabia. In Asia we have India and Malaysia. In Africa we have places like Zambia, Tanzania and Nigeria. In the Americas we have Colombia and Bolivia. And down under we have the country/continent of Australia. While we have looked into countries specifically with ear in their name, today let's take a wider look at how these two simple letters became so widespread around our maps. The suffix of ear is one of the many remnants of the Roman Empire, with the ear suffix believed to have come from Latin, which they took from Greek. This is why if you think there are many ear suffixes in the modern English language, there are way more in nations' Latin names. Countries without ear in their modern names like Spain, Britain and Hungary have them in their Latin names, Hispania, Britannia and Hungaria respectively. Even the Roman Empire's home soil of Italy is called Italia in Latin. The ear suffix is also believed to have female connotations, so that might explain why countries are often referred to as female, with using her and she to describe them. While it's still very prevalent in the world today, it's believed that in English at least it has been somewhat replaced with just Y instead of ear. As we saw, Hungary is now Hungary, Italia is now Italy, and Germania became Germany. Now that's all well and good, but what does this ear suffix even mean? Well, from my research, it doesn't have one exact meaning, but seems to have just been a part of language that has been formed over time. We have all kinds of suffixes and prefixes like this in language. They don't seem to have an exact known etymology, but just serve a purpose in language to help change words into new words, with ear being one of these the Greeks first used to be added to words to change them into place names, which the Romans then used and is still being used to this day. I guess if it had to be interpreted, it would mean something like the place of, the land of, or even just land. However, that's only when the ear suffix is being used in place names, as despite being most commonly seen with place names, this suffix is used in other names too. Most sources point out that the ear suffix in modern times can be used in 3 other select category of things: names for flowers, names for diseases, and names for collectives. It's so weird that language has just evolved that this ear suffix can pretty much only be exclusively used with just these 4 more or less unrelated categories. It can be seen in flower names with magnolia and hortensia, with diseases like malaria, and in collectives like utopia and militia. Anyway, disease and flowers aside, why does ear pop up so much on our globe? While I couldn't find an explanation directly saying this, I'm going to take a stab at it myself and say it's simply because of the impact the Latin had on language. So many modern languages evolved from Latin, or borrowed from Latin, so would have the ear suffix implanted in them. Languages that are most inspired from Latin are the Romance languages, named so due to coming from Rome. The most popular of these are French, Italian, Spanish and Portuguese. The countries of Europe with ear in their names would have dealt with the Romans one way or another during their reign, hence why they have ear in their names. As for the countries of South America with ear, a lot of those were colonized by the Spanish and Portuguese, languages that come from Latin, so that ever-present suffix would have made the transatlantic travels with them. So what about further afield nations that end with ear in Africa, Asia and of course Australia, which I don't believe the Romans had much to do with and weren't colonized by Columbus and co. African countries like Nigeria and Zambia were once part of the British Empire. English is still their official language. While not a Romance language, English has been heavily influenced by Latin, so it makes sense that they would use this suffix in places like this too. But what about places in Asia like India and Malaysia? Even Asia itself ends with ear, but I think that's more coincidence. I feel the reason these Asian nations end with ear is too due to the impact the West has had on them. The name Malaysia was given to the land by British geographers. India too is a name of English origin, and of course Australia is once again a name of English invention. I won't go into too much detail here, as a few of these names we have looked into specifically already in previous videos. Also, I feel that a reason why the ear suffix has become so prominent is due to just how universally understood it is. Look at this list of fictional countries. So many of them end with ear, from the Doctor Doom run Latveria to the Rufus T. Firefly land of Fredonia. Language is something so deeply installed into us all that there are parts of it we just know more or less innately and don't really need to be taught it. If you have ever thought of a made up country name, I'm sure there's a chance it ended with ear. I know I have. So now we have a pretty good understanding of the ear suffix. That leaves us with another question. What does the part at the start of these country names even mean? On the whole, they all seem to share a similar pattern. There are a few exceptions, like Australia meaning the southern land, but on the whole, the former parts of these names refer to the people who live in the land. Hence why I said earlier the ear suffix kind of means the land of. Let's look specifically at Bulgaria. This name is thought to come from the Bulgar people, a group of people who settled in the land that is now Bulgaria in the Middle Ages, and it's because of this that the land they lived in became known as the land of the Bulgars, which ultimately turned into the name we know it as today, Bulgaria. However, how the Bulgars got this name in the first place still seems to be something of a mystery. It was just Bulgaria that was suggested by Stephen Nikolov and Autumn Fiamata, and thanks to their suggestions, they will now be honoured as Name Explain's patron saints of Bulgaria. Do you have a good idea for somewhere that's name could be covered in a Name Explain video? If so, then please consider donating on Patreon. Just $1 a month helps keep the channel running and earns you a weekly chance to suggest somewhere to be turned into a video, and you too could be a Name Explain Patreon saint. Thank you to all my patrons who support Name Explain on a monthly basis. Name Explain depends on small monthly donations from fans like you to help keep the channel running. Just the small amount of $2 a month helps out in a huge way, grants you patron exclusive Name Explain extras, and gets your name here with all these awesome people. Thank you.